I am sure most New England Patriots fans have heard that DeAndre Hopkins has been released by the Arizona Cardinals and is now a high priority target for any team looking for an elite receiver to help them this upcoming season. Before we get into the speculation of who's really interested and who can afford him, I'm just going to say just about every team is interested, and those teams will rework contracts to get him on the team this year. No one is really out on DeAndre. Well, besides the Cardinals. So, Pats fans need to accept that the chances of him landing in New England are not great. However, there is a decent probability that the Patriots could be a leading suitor for D-Hop, and they have the cap space to afford him this season and moving forward. Before we discuss the likelihood of D-Hop coming to New England, let's get up to speed on his latest endeavors. Prior to his truncated 2022 season, Hopkins posted 3 consecutive 100-catch seasons, finished second amongst wideouts in receiving yards, and averaged 8.8 yards per target, the third highest of his career. At 6'1", 212 pounds, Hopkins has a decent size but only middling speed. Yet, his lackluster top-end speed and vertical hasn't really hurt his on-field performance due to his ability to catch anything thrown remotely in his vicinity. In fact, he only had 1 drop in 160 targets in 2021. Hopkins runs precise routes and is one of the greatest in NFL history at getting his feet down in bounds near the sideline. Last season, he missed the first 6 games due to a suspension and sat out the final 2 with a knee injury. In between, he averaged 7.1 catches for 79.7 yards on around 10.7 targets with 3 touchdowns in 9 games, basically providing his traditional elite production until third-string quarterback Trace McSorley, now a Patriot, completed only 1 of his 10 throws to Hopkins in DeAndre's final appearance of the season. At 30, Hopkins is probably past his peak, but Hall of Fame level receivers usually produce into the 30s, so hopefully he has a few left if he comes to New England. DeAndre would bring a lot to the Patriots receiving corps besides a big name and a history of elite level production. Hopkins brings good height and length for outside receiver and has the lower body strength to burst off the line of scrimmage and dig in on his cuts. He is an amazing route runner in the short, intermediate, and deep games, which makes him a master of creating separation, especially on hitches, comebacks, and various cuts, where he can use his head fakes and quick moves to shake D-backs. He has a multitude of releases and is a master at walkout release where he allows the corner to engage him and he simply just beats him with a counter move and he's gone. DeAndre is very physical with his strong 10-inch hands and is not afraid of making contact downfield. He can maintain balance after the catch and stays alive for a big gain. Perhaps the most appealing aspect of his game is his contested catches and remarkable sideline skills. His ability to concentrate on the ball throughout difficult catches and extends his long 33 1/3 inch arms to create a big catch radius. Again, he almost never drops the ball. He finds a way to pluck the ball out of the air and get both feet in bounds on the sideline. Last but not least, he is an effective run blocker and is motivated to contribute. Essentially, DeAndre is a true wide receiver 1 in every aspect of his game, something the Patriots desperately need. So, what makes an elite number 1? Several years ago, when most people think about a true number 1 wide receiver, 3 receivers would come to mind: Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, and one of my favorites, Andre Johnson. These guys were indeed number 1s, but these types of players were one of those one-in-a-generation types of talent. Not every number 1 in the league was like these guys. At that time, most teams had a leading receiver, but not a number 1 in terms of athletic talent, nor did they have that kind of measurables that Fitz and Megatron and Andre had. Nowadays, a lot of teams have at least one serviceable number 1 receiver, with some having multiple all-pro targets on their roster. Undeniably, most of these number 1s are not Megatron, but that doesn't mean they aren't ones. So, here we go. What's the definition of a true number 1 receiver? In my book, a number 1 is a receiver who opens up the field for lesser receivers by getting that special attention from the defense. He can act kind of like a decoy, but also a player that can take on double coverage and still record some impressive production. For me, an elite NFL receiver can be seen as someone who can step into any offense and just produce off the top. Now, you could still be a number one without being an elite number one. Some number ones are so great at the end of the day because of the system that they are in. Although we'd like to think that they can make it happen on their own, most receivers, like running backs and quarterbacks, have to be put in the right system to maximize their potential. If they are not put in the right system, they become busts because they don't have the necessary elements to succeed. The Patriots have a few examples of this. However, we have also had those kind of Brandon Lloyds, who are a product of the McDaniels offense. And then there was Wes Welker, who, before coming to New England, was an average wide receiver at best. But in New England's offense, he became a household name. Both of these guys are talented in their own right, but I think the main thing to think about is that neither of them are physical specimens like a Moss or a Hill or Julio Jones or Megatron or some of the other true elites. But if you put them in the right situation, they can succeed, and Bill has done this numerous times. So, if Bill can make a number one through schemes and creating a system that works for these guys on their roster, why do we need to get a number one? Well, this is where we get into the nuances of classifications and labels again. The Patriots have a number one on their roster this year. But who is it? You get what I'm saying? The Patriots don't have a true number one, or a bona fide number one, or an elite receiver. They don't have that guy who can just show up to just about any game on Sunday for just about any team and just be told, get out there and wing it, and he could still record 100 yards and a couple TDs. Does anyone on the Patriots squad sound like that? No. Does DeAndre Hopkins sound like that? Yeah. Minus Deshaun Watson, Hopkins has worked with subpar QBs his entire career in a variety of different offenses. His entire career has been what I just used as an example, showing up and just producing regardless of the situation or scheme. Now, you can ask, do the Patriots actually want him though? Well, DeAndre to New England is a complicated situation outside the lines, but I will touch on that later. But in terms of the on-field performance, absolutely they should. Why? Well, he is that true number one receiver I've been talking about, and he is deadly at getting separation almost immediately, and he almost never drops the ball. Two things we would have killed for last year, and basically every year. But now the Patriots did go out and get Juju and Gesicki, but DeAndre's a different beast, and he has valued aspects to his game that are extremely lacking in New England. Not only are these traits valued as an individual receiver, but they're even more potent as intangibles, as they have a huge impact on the Patriots' offense. Let's discuss. DeAndre has a full Rolodex of routes that he can run. He can run just about everything and is a threat in almost every route. This is one of the primary characteristics of a good wide receiver one. Not only does this make him operative anywhere on the field, but the most important thing about having a true number one wide receiver is that they become a force multiplier. What do I mean? Well, having a wide receiver one on the field essentially forces the defense to put a top cornerback on him the entire game, or they have to overly scheme for him. Makes sense, right? What's the big deal? Well, that cornerback might be the best corner against a big wideout, or a fast wideout, or can cover contested catch receivers, or take down a big yak guy, or he's the only guy that can defend the perimeter against a sideline specialist, or perhaps several of those. So having the best corner on the wide receiver one could lead to one or more mismatches in the secondary. The Patriots have a nice assortment of talent that is big, fast, quick, shifty, contested catch specialists, running backs that can catch the ball, and yak guys. Right now, these guys are pieces to the puzzle, but the centerpiece is still missing to make the offense whole, that elite number one. This brings us back to why the Patriots need a player like this on their roster. The Patriots have a collection of talent for pass catchers, including tight ends and running backs. But the opposing defensive coordinators are going to know how these guys are going to hurt them the most. Maybe the Patriots can simply overwhelm the defense with quality numbers and play calling. Yeah, that can happen. But wouldn't you just want that one guy who dictates coverage and provides a force multiplier role to the other guys on the field? Again, having a true number one should unleash the other receivers on the team. Ask Juju what it's like having Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, or even when he was in Kansas City, where he had Kelsey out there forcing double teams and stretching the defense, allowing Juju to have space to take on smaller corners and slower backers. Juju is dangerous then, but is he dangerous when you have the number one corner on him with help over the top? Maybe. But that's a problem. Maybe. Who doesn't want the first example with DeAndre taking on the number one, allowing Juju to attack the weakness? What is more? What happens when you have Thornton stretching and Gesicki ripping the seam and Juju is attacking the weak spot created by Hopkins, who's demanding alpha coverage? Having him as the island receiver at the X will change everything about the Patriots offense and how you could employ the other receiver's strengths rather than just putting him out there in an alignment and hoping the strengths can be uncuffed once here or there if the situation arises. In addition, having Hopkins on the field can amplify the efficacy of route concepts and combinations. Let's dig in here. As I already mentioned, true number ones are force multipliers, and is not entirely about dictating coverage and mismatches. You can be a force multiplier by refining the offense and improving route combinations, or possibly unlocking different formations, or even route combinations that weren't possible or even effective with other receivers on the roster. Let's take a look at basic formations and some generic route concepts to help us discuss how having an elite wide receiver may improve the offense with some intangibles. I'm going to highlight the importance of a true number one in a rudimentary formation and play. Trio right smash. Yes, this is a variation of trips, but instead of a tight end, we have a split end with an X, which we will see as Hopkins. Trio smash is a play in which the two inside receivers will attack the deep part of the field, while the two outside receivers will run short routes. This is a great play as it attacks the defense on multiple levels and creates diverse looks on each side of the field. Against zone, smash typically sees the outside receiver having only one defender on them, with safeties helping out on the deep routes. This suggests that outside receivers will have a great deal of real estate if they can lose the first defender. On this play, Hopkins, who's the X, and the outside receiver on the right, which we will put as, say, Juju, will run inside hitch routes. The H, who we'll say is Gesicki, will run a deep post toward the middle of the field, while the Z, who we have as Thornton, will run a deep corner towards the near sideline. Now, the right side of the formation is loaded with talent, with guys running some of their best routes and using their strengths. Hopkins as the X on the left side of the formation would probably demand help from a safety. This leaves Gesicki striking the middle of the field, forcing the safety to help, and Thornton stretching the defense, possibly bringing another safety to help. This will leave either Juju in single or Hopkins in single with potentially one man to beat. If Hopkins forced the deep safety to cheat towards him, Gesicki or Thornton should have a big mismatch to open for a big gain. If he doesn't, I'll take Hopkins in a physical one-on-one against almost any corner. Another easy example from Trio is Trio right box. This is intended to cause confusion in the middle of the field by running 3 out of the 4 routes towards the center. There we'll have many defenders running in front of each other and to the same place on the field. It is easy for receivers to get misplaced amongst the bodies and then come out wide open as a result. By having the 2 outside routes attacking the deep area of the field, it opens a lot of room for the underneath routes to run after the catch. The X, Hopkins, will run a deep post toward the middle of the field. The Y, Parker, will run a go route down the right side. The H, Juju, will run a shallow drag from right to left, with the Z, Thornton, running a 10-yard dig or an in route. Similar to the smash play, All of these guys are in the best position and are running some of their best routes. Hopkins and Parker would certainly demand help deep, leaving Juju or Thornton to get a nice opportunity and wreak havoc after the catch. Another play is the trio right skinny post attack. It is superb at attacking the defense at 3 different levels from the trip side, with all receivers heading toward the middle of the field. This frequently causes defenders to have to make a choice as to which receiver to cover, especially the safeties. Since the X, DeAndre, on the outside will run a deep fade down the left sideline, he's often matched up one-on-one, and he could find himself free deep. On the trip side, the H, Juju, will run a skinny post, and the Z, Bourne, will run a deep hitch, and the Y, Parker, will run a deep post. In this one, Hopkins could have one of the safeties cheating to his side, opening up at least one of the 3 receivers on the trip side. Another easy trio is trio right scissors. This is a route concept in trios which is very dangerous, with 2 of the routes crossing each other to cause confusion. In this play, the 2 receivers on the right in the trips will run mirroring routes that will cross each other at some point. This will hopefully cause defenders to either run into each other, or stumble trying to avoid each other, or simply just plain lose their coverage man. Simultaneously, the other receivers will run clear out routes to take advantage of what should be a lot of free space. The Y, which will make Bourne, will run a deep post, while the Z, which will make Thornton, will run a deep corner. The H, Juju, will run a shallow drag, while the X, Hopkins, will run a straight go route. Similar to the other plays, having Hopkins on the island as an X is dangerous. Leaving a single corner to handle D-Hop is a bad idea. So an opposing defense should have a safety keeping an eye on DeAndre, leaving Juju plus Thornton and Bourne to work a scissors concept with limited coverage. Only 1 out of 3 of those guys needs to present a decent passing opportunity for this play to work. Now, yes, these plays can work without DeAndre on the island as the X, but having him over there running solo is a huge concern for a defense, because you know he's playing your coverage, which can be a scary thought. Hopkins is going to find a way to get an advantage on that corner. So as the other 3 receivers are running a combo or concepts, DeAndre's forcing the defense to not commit additional players to deal with the outcome of the scheme coming out of that trip side. That is a very scary idea. You either hope your top corner can easily contain Hopkins, or commit a safety to deal with the outcomes of the trips. You can't just leave Juju flying around on a drag, or Thornton running a dig, or Parker running a deep post without help. But who do you pick? Good luck. Again, these plays work out without Hopkins. But who is the X? Parker? Thornton? Maybe. But I would rather use their unique talents on the trip side, where they can compound those in route concepts. DeAndre as the Island X is a force multiplier, because Parker working with Thornton in a combo or in a concepts is a lot more powerful than them working individually. And DeAndre allows this to happen. Why? Because DeAndre doesn't need to be in a combination or in a concept to be dangerous. This is where the force multiplier comes from. One guy making everybody else better just by simply being on the field. Now, can the Patriots win without a true wide receiver 1? Yes, absolutely. Not just because the Patriots have won numerous Super Bowls without an elite wideout, but also because basic analysis of the game of football reveals that offenses have to move the ball down the field. That's it. The defense has to try to stop them. Okay, duh, right? Well, the offense has the luxury of being able to cover up their weaknesses with its strengths. The defense can kind of do the same thing, but to a much lesser degree. Where the offense can have a solid running game to distract attention from a bad passing game, on the other hand, the defense cannot have a strong run defense to protect against its poor pass defense. Clearly, A great edge rusher can take a lot of pressure off the secondary, and to a minor extent, having two elite corners can help stop the run. But a middling offense matched with a good defense can cover up any weakness at the wide receiver position to an extraordinary large degree. Why? Simple. A solitary weak defensive player can be targeted by a balanced offense. The offense has the capacity to command the flow of the game and choose where they're going to attack. If the weak player is a nose tackle, the offense can just run right at him. If the player is a linebacker, they can pull him in on play action fake. If the player is a defensive back, he can be caught out of position and give up a big play. To have a good defense, a team must have at least one solid player at all 11 positions, along with strong players to sub in certain downs. The offense just needs to exploit the one defensive weakness until they adjust and they find the open opportunity created by the adjustment. Yes, this is easier said than done, and unfortunately, AFC East doesn't really have any weak defenses. On the contrary, they have quite solid defenses across the board. Now, I would point to the Patriots' offensive strengths that could make up for the lack of elite wide receiver. First, having a good running game can usually get you third and short situations rather than just third and long with a bad running game and just passing. The ability to regularly get third and short greatly diminishes the importance of having an elite wide receiver. Make note of the term diminishes. The other strength the Patriots have is an above average tight end room. An elite tight end can create mismatches in coverage and even stretch the field vertically on occasion, which is kind of the job of an X receiver. Tight ends can create space for wide receivers by drawing double teams with the safety, leaving wide receivers one-on-one with cornerbacks. A good tight end can also create space in the flat by drawing coverage to the middle of the field. Henry and Gesicki should be able to generate these conflicts. So again, this diminishes the need for an elite wideout. So, it is possible they can survive without an elite wideout, and it wouldn't be a make or break for the upcoming season. But I will say this, the Patriots are coming into the season looking at last place in their division. Luckily, the division is so competitive that the Patriots only need a few lucky breaks and they can find their way winning the division as other teams chew each other up. However, I don't want to go into the season hoping the Patriots luck out on 3 or 4 games this season and find their way into the playoffs and only to get outscored by the Bengals or the Bills or the Chiefs who are throwing up 40 plus a game. If you're down 2 touchdowns at halftime, you really can't go in the second half just running the ball and hoping play action works here or there. You need talent that allows you to basically tell the opposing defense what you're going to do, and they know they can't stop you, right? Right now, we don't have it. Getting DeAndre would change that in an instant. Now, there are other reasons why the Patriots and the fans should want D-Hop in Foxboro this year, and they all sum up to having a name and a player like DeAndre Hopkins on the team. Outside of him on the field and on the roster, the Patriots going out and getting D-Hop shows the fans that they are trying. If you've been watching my Patriots offseason coverage, you would know that I have been critical about the Patriots needing to show that they are doing something. And I guess my threshold is a lot more than something. Just to be clear, I am far from burn the whole thing down, but getting Juju and Gesicki and offensive tackles, the rookies, and bringing back Bill O'Brien are significant moves. Yes, that is true. But you can't just stop there this year. Not only do you need to show that last year will never happen again, but you also need to show or prove that you're trying to be a lot better than last year, especially due to other teams in the division making significant moves to improve or bolster their strengths this year. You made the moves to show that you knew that things needed to change, but let's move a bit beyond that, right? You got a new team, you got Tom coming back for opening night, you got an upgraded stadium, you want the fans to be excited, you want them to buy merchandise, right? How well do you think a D-Hop jersey would sell? You see what I'm getting at? The NFL is a business and a form of entertainment. Getting Hopkins in town would generate a lot of buzz and would change the league's outlook on the Patriots this year. Yeah, I know that doesn't mean much to Bill, but it might mean a lot to the Crafts. Getting DeAndre Hopkins is more than just X's and O's. It's a business decision. Now, why the Patriots might skip on Hopkins? Even if the Patriots want DeAndre on the field, there might be a few big issues that could deter them from really pursuing him. First, it is possible he's asking for too big of a contract for his age, and there's the issue with the PED suspension. I'm not saying those things will stop the Patriots from getting him, but if he's asking for top dollar, the Patriots might have a few items on their list that puts him at a lower valuation than he's asking. Another issue is just getting into a bidding war and having to overpay due to high demand. Moreover, the Patriots might see the off-field drama to be too big of an issue, especially with O'Brien. Keep in mind, the Patriots had some notable locker room issues last year, and there has been some rumor DeAndre is not 100% about the name on the front of the jersey. Bill might not want that type of headache after this past year. Finally, the Patriots might have other plans, or they're simply happy with who they have on their offense this year. Will the Patriots actually get him? Well, the Patriots have a few things working for them. One, Bill Belichick likes DeAndre, and it looks like DeAndre likes Bill. In addition, Hopkins is looking for a team that has a leader at QB and a good defense. Mac, I think, is a leader, and his outbursts last year were, although out of line for a Patriot, were justified. The Patriots' defense has always been solid, and this year should be concrete. So, the Patriots have DeAndre's primary wish items. Another thing to consider is cap space. New England apparently has over $12 million left for this year. Patriots apparently have over $12 million left, which should be enough. Hopkins might need some more, but I think the Patriots could rework some contracts to make it fit. Now, the major issue is DeAndre's relationship with offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien, who was his head coach from 2014 to 2019. The good thing is that Hopkins racked up over 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns on 76 catches in 2014, and then went on to make 4 Pro Bowls over the next 5 years. But early in 2020, O'Brien assumed the general manager responsibilities and then shockingly traded Hopkins and a 4th-round pick to the Cardinals in March for running back David Johnson and a 2020 2nd-round pick and a 2021 4th-round pick. Some rumors came out about O'Brien linking Hopkins to Aaron Hernandez and something about DeAndre's baby mamas being around. I've yet to hear or see Hopkins or O'Brien talk about it. In October 2020, the Texans fired O'Brien after an 0-4 start, and Hopkins was quoted, "Of course I saw it. It was all over the internet. A lot of memes and stuff with me in it and my name. But I wish bad on no one. Hopefully you can find success somewhere else." Unquote. Maybe things would work out, but it is hard to believe that DeAndre is going to let go about being traded for basically nothing, when there was no strong reason to trade him rather than just to get him off the team. Therefore, Pats fans need to accept that New England is probably not going to be the top candidate for D-Hop. But I would love to see him on the field against the Eagles opening night. So, do you think the Patriots can grab Hopkins? Can he contribute? How many wins does he add this year? Can him and Bill O'Brien get along? Who has the best shot of landing him? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.